Today's topic is Yesterday by Shanice, a deeper 1999 R&B cut with soulful, gospel-influenced chords that really highlight the sound of 90s R&B ballads. I'm going to walk you through the chord progressions, talk about why they work, and show you how to connect them together with smooth voicings that really evoke that late 90s R&B vibe. Let's get started. We're in the key of A-flat major, and we start the verse on D-flat major 7, our 4 chord. So we have root, 3rd, 5th, 7th. From there, we go down to C minor 7, our 3 chord. Both of these are voiced with the root of the chord in the left hand, and an inversion containing the remaining tones, 3, 5, and 7, in our right. Then we have our first spicy chromatic chord descending to a flat 3 minor 7 chord, C flat minor 7, but we'll call it B minor 7 here. All the same intervals, down a half step, that's being used as a passing flavor chord to get us down another half step to the 2 chord, B flat minor 7. The flat 3 chord is important because it introduces a hint of sadness into what's been a mellow progression up until this point. So we have 3 minor 7, flat 3 minor 7, 2 minor 7. Now in an old-fashioned jazz or R&B tune, this is where we would go from 2 minor 7 to 5, 7 to 1. But this is an example of a walkdown progression where we go from 4 to 1 in sequence so our last chord is our tonic, a beautiful A-flat major 9, root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th. The major second between the 9th and the 3rd adds some nice complexity and shimmer. And as we discussed in the Waterfalls video, major 9 chords are very stable, especially tonic chords, and this gives the melody a nice moment to rest and reset before we go to the next chord. The important part of these voicings, and the glue that ties these chords together, is the melody created by the top note of each chord voicing, which subtly mirrors the vocal line. We go from F to E flat to D to D flat, and then we could go to C, but instead this first time around we'll go up to G to create some contrary motion with the vocal melody and to keep the right hand from descending into a range that would get too muddy. So altogether that's for the second line of the verse, we'll go through the whole thing again. So D flat, C minor 7, B minor 7, B flat minor 7, but this time we'll end on a different inversion in the right hand with the 5th on top instead of the 7th. Still contrary motion because we're going, but by step to the E flat instead of the leap up to the G like we did the first time around. So let's hear the verse in context. I know I shouldn't walk out this way. Sorry, but my feelings have changed. With that said, let's take a look at the pre-chorus. So we start on a new chord, F minor 7, our 6 chord. So we're going to go root, 3rd, 5th, 7th. This adds a bit of tension compared to the smooth 4 to 1 walkdown. We're still descending here, but now we're using a technique of playing the same notes in the right hand while the bass moves downward, which changes the chord overall each time. So we're going to start with, and we're going to go from F minor 7 to A flat in second inversion over E flat. This is another example of a 1 chord that isn't functioning like a 1 chord due to the inversion and being placed in the middle of a progression. It's just a passing chord between the 6 and the next chord, D major 9, our 4 chord. We're going to add the F here to fill in the 3rd while holding over the other notes we were playing earlier, C, E flat, and A. We'll go back to the top and play through the first 2 chords again, 6 minor 7, 1 in second inversion. But this time around, the 3rd chord is a D flat major 7, again our 4, with a 3rd on top. And we're going to go directly from there to a new sequence where we're climbing up the scale with the top voice of the chord in unison with the melody. So it's... That's the melody on its own. Now let's hear it with the chord voicings. On top of the D flat major 7 chord, we're going to go from F to G, and then we're going to go to this A flat in first inversion over the C and go A flat and B flat. And then we're going to take a short leap up to B flat minor 7, our 2, and play a sparse voicing that's just the root in the left hand and the 7 and 3rd on top. This is the high note of the melody, and from there we're going to descend back down from C to A to F with the other notes of the B flat minor 7 chord on bottom. And then we're going to wrap up the pre-chorus with the first appearance of a 5 chord. Whoa. Specifically in E flat suspended 11, so E flat, our root, B flat, our 5th, 7, 9, 11. It's a nice sound. And as we've discussed in our previous videos, 5 chords aren't required, especially in R&B, but they do create a unique pull to a potential resolution. So we can end that sequence on this, and we can even roll it up an octave up for a fill. That was the wrong note on bottom. There we go. There we go. Let's hear the pre-chorus in context with the melody. I would only hurt you more if I stayed, so I can't go on pretending that I feel like I did yesterday. So the pre-chorus progression works because we do the opposite of what we do in the verse. Instead of a mellow linear descent from 4 to 1, we build tension by spending time on 6, inverted 1, 4, and 2, only using 1 as a passing chord, before we end on that long suspended 5 that we hope will carry us back to 1. Speaking of which, let's look at the chorus, which does not start on 1 after that 5 chord. Instead, we go from the suspended 5 back to a suspended 2-7. So we have our root, 5th, 7th, and 9th. The chorus is different because the first part of the sequence moves much faster. We have 3 chords in 1 bar in unison with the melody, going from 2 to 4. We go from suspended 2, root, 5th, 7th, 9th, to 3 minor 7, to 4 major 9, which is the reverse of what we did in the verse. Now the first two get 3/16 notes each, so da 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 da. And the last chord gets held out for the remaining 2.5 beats of the bar. So altogether that's... This dramatically increases the tension and the pace compared to what we're used to hearing up until now, and we balance it out with a full bar of F suspended 11, our 6th chord, after that. So root, 7th, 9th, 11, and together that's... We're going to repeat this 2 more times, 3 quick chords, 2, 3, and 4, followed by a full bar of 6. So the next 2 bars are... This builds tension without resolving. It keeps us on the hook. Finally, we break the pattern with the title hook, descending from 4 to 3 to flat 3 to 2 in quarter notes and a compressed version of the verse chords, ending on a full bar of 5 suspended 11 under the final note of the title. The accompaniment here also echoes the melody with A flats on the offbeats of the first 3 chords. This is particularly effective over the flat 3 chord with a bittersweet dissonance between the A natural and the lower notes, and the A flat in the melody mirroring the sadness of the lyrics. Like the rest of the song up to this point, the 5 chord does not provide as strong resolution as you might expect, partially because of the suspended voicing, and partially because the next chord is 4, the beginning of the next verse, rather than the tonic chord. So instead of this, 5 suspended to 1, we get this. And then 4, 3, flat 3, 2. So in full context with the melody, da, 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 The song goes through another verse, pre-chorus, and chorus exactly the same as the first, and that takes us to a new sequence in the bridge. We've gone back to the dotted 8th rhythm of the verse, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But we have some new chords to work with. We go from 4 major 7, D flat, to 5, E flat, our first unaltered or vanilla dominant chord. Then we have a new chord, C dominant 7, or our 2/7, or our secondary dominant of 6. And then, as you might expect, we go from there to our 6, F minor 7 in this case. So there, the whole sequence is... From there, we have this long sequence that I'm going to put up here in advance so you can see what we're working with. We have a string of syncopated chords with every chord after the first being played on the and of 2 or 4 and holding over into the next half of the bar. We go from F minor 7, a repeat of our last chord from the previous bar, to 1, A flat in first inversion. Then we have a secondary dominant, F dominant 7 over A, the borrowed major 2/7 of 2, which then takes us to 2 minor 7, B flat, to 511, not suspended this time, built from the root, 3rd, 7th, 9th, and 11th. And finally, we resolve to 1 major 9. This is a particularly interesting progression because we have that 2-7, 5-11, 1 major 9 progression, which in other circumstances would sound like a comfortable resolution. However, the 2-5-1 coming at the end of the long unstable bridge sequence, with the unbalanced bar of 2-4, the repeated syncopation, and the third in the vocal melody, tells the listener's ear to treat this as a moment of anticipation rather than a destination. It's a clever swerve. So if we're hearing that all together in tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The bridge continues by repeating the first 4 chords from the first half of the bridge. 4 major 7, D flat, to 5, E flat, to the 2-7 of 6, C, to 6 minor 7, F, with the last chord held out over 6-4 bar. Finally, we have another bar of 6-4 based on a modified version of the end of the pre-chorus where we have that clamming melody again. So we have then A flat over C, and now we're going to have a 2 minor 7, and finally we're going to go to a familiar 5 suspended 11 underneath the dramatic peak of the vocal melody over E flat, setting the stage for the last chorus. After that, we just have one final chorus with a repeat of the title hook at the end, and that's it. So let's try to hear that in context. In conclusion, yesterday is a great lesson on the power of descending 4-1 progressions, using chromatic passing chords like the flat minor 3-7 to create emotional impact, using chord voicings to mirror the vocal melody, using partial or extended bars to create tension, denying resolution after a dominant 5 chord, and creating instability using secondary dominance. That was our lesson on Shanice's Yesterday. I hope you enjoyed another slice of late 90s R&B. If you want to support what I do, please like, subscribe, and comment, and go check out my Patreon in the description below. If you want to learn about a more random selection of music, go check out my second channel, How Pop Music Works Live. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of someone else, and have a good day.